As much as we want to only receive critiques on our work at the right time in a way that is straightforward and helpful, a lot of the time, that isn't what happens. You may get feedback when you are not asking for it. Feedback could come from anywhere, from your audience, maybe via support channel, or maybe someone is simply being mean on Twitter or Reddit. If it's a client project, it could be from your client, where he or she may be suggesting things that they want or think that they want. Often when a critique is coming from these places or people where it's not your trusted circle or people that have a design sense, what they say could be a little bit confusing, be a bad suggestion on the surface, could be mean-spirited. This is because they are trying to find a solution to fix some problem or something that they don't like in the design, yet they don't have a designer's eye, may not necessarily be good at finding the solution, and thus their suggestions can be or appear to be way off. In addition, their emotional state may be one of frustration, and it could feel like an attack. Your job as the designer is to be able to do your best not to react, which is very difficult to do. A knee-jerk response is to either externally or internally get frustrated or shut down. You may lash back or simply pretend you don't want to hear their unwanted feedback. The knee-jerk response is not in your design's best interest. Now, having that reaction internally is, of course, okay. It's human. It's how you handle it from there. Get yourself as quickly as possible into a place of feeling open, where you can listen to what they are saying. If their feedback does feel misguided or feels like a terrible suggestion, see past what they are actually saying on the surface and get beneath their suggestion. You want to get to the design problem that they are feeling and experiencing. They just don't know how to express it, how a designer could. More times than not, they are expressing a valid concern or a flaw in the design. By trying to understand what problems they are having and shining a light on it can lead to improvements for the customer and get to a design that you actually might like more. A few examples. Someone might be reacting negatively to something and say, "Oh, this design is not as good as the old one. It's much better before." Of course, this doesn't feel very good. Your intention would be to design something that is easy to use and better than any previous iteration. It might make you feel like you didn't do a good job and that you didn't try. You want to see past their words and understand the issue that they are having. Through your designer's eye, revisit your work and ask questions. Is the design not readable? Are the colors not working well together? Is there not enough interest? Are you not addressing the primary purpose of the interface? If you are able to have a dialogue with the person, especially if it's a team member or client, you should try to get to the bottom of what they are saying. Ask them what they liked so much about the previous design. Perhaps this will give you clues to what you can adjust in your design. Ultimately, the hope is you will come up with something that is indeed better than the previous design. Another example. Maybe a client comes to you and they say, "This is too dull. This is very boring." These words could come across as harsh. Obviously, when you are designing something, you don't want to create something dull or boring. Their words might frustrate or offend. Maybe your perspective is that it's very light and open and clean, as that's what you were going for. But see past what they are saying on the surface. Again, ask yourself questions. How could this be more interesting? Is the interface not enticing enough? Perhaps the design as a whole is working very well and they don't realize that. But what they crave is a little bit more color, a photo, an illustration, something that's a little bit more exciting and that will entice. Of course, it would be great if in the previous example they had come along and said, "Oh, all these things are working really well, it's coming along, and I really like a lot of things, but if you are able to bring a little more interest, maybe by color or an image, not exactly sure, but something to draw the user in a little bit." That, of course, would be much easier to receive. But the reality, people aren't always going to say things in a way that's easy to receive. Your job is to translate it so it is. See past a critique's surface. That way, no matter what, you are finding ways to make your designs better.